Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty more interesting news coming out over here for when it comes to some pretty big deals, pretty big sales, pretty good numbers, and kind of the overall huge gaming industry as a whole, all put together to see what is doing the best, what is doing the worst, and how these numbers going, and all this type of stuff. And with this, it does actually kind of seem like the PlayStation 5 itself as well has been doing utterly, absolutely amazing. So we have a lot of things to go talk about, a lot of things to go bring it up, and at the end of the day, I kind of still always have the same mindset of I love seeing the video game industry as a whole always doing so well, but it's also kind of scary to see how some of these things have been kind of going up, kind of going down, kind of slogging, and everything else all put together. So let's go talk about it. And as well, if you guys have not heard, we actually do keep on mentioning out the brand new HOW link down below in the comments and also the description for the brand new monitor itself. You guys could get a bunch of money off as well. No obligation, no sign up needed, or if you just want to go checking it out and see how the beautiful future of Samsung is, if you guys would like to. Link down below. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below, Target links down below, and of course, as always, we do also go and have our nice little PS5 giveaway, so make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on for that. So as you guys have probably had a chance to hear, we did mention that, well, we finally have all the sales numbers coming out now for these past few weeks, past few months, when it comes to all these next-gen consoles, and it is surprisingly doing a little bit better than we'd be expecting. Although, if you guys have had a chance to see, a lot of these really big retailers actually have been now stating that their hardware numbers have gone down. We have seen on official record that Microsoft itself has actually physically gone down, which is not a good sign. And at that point, we're probably going to be assuming a lot of the Switch, PS5, etc. are also going to be going down as well. So with this, we have an article over here from VG Charts stating and talking about how the Switch sales topped now over 111 million. PlayStation 5 sales have finally topped over 22 million. Worldwide estimates now too as well, and this is in regards to July 31st to August 6th as well. So, just in case you guys are kind of curious on how these dates, times, and everything else kind of line up with it, it's just in regards that a lot of this data is somewhat backlogged, because obviously you can have it happen like that same day, but it's also harder to go and imagine that on the same day. So Nintendo Switch was the best-selling console completely messed it up. So Nintendo Switch was the best-selling console with 291,000 units sold for the week ending August 6th, 2022, according to now the VG Charts estimates. Switch has now sold an estimated 111 million and a quarter million units lifetime, which is still astronomically crazy to me. Number one, that it's getting close to being the PlayStation 4, but as well, the fact that we still have not had a chance to go and have a Switch Pro. Now, in my honest opinion, you guys can kind of give your thoughts down below. Dude, I almost feel like they're just going to try their best to beat the PS4, and then they're like, all right, we got the number one, we got the big sales, that we have this big crowning achievement, because if you're so close, realistically, why not? Because it's a lot of free extra years of promo. That's like multiple years of additional, we're the number one best-selling world console, we're the best, we're Nintendo, we're the number one, we're the best. Articles, talks, everything. So at the end of the day, I could almost see that being a viable business strategy, just for them to actually be like, yeah, we easily took number one, now go buy the Switch Pro, it's going to be number one as well as time goes on. So basically, the PlayStation then sold an estimated 229,951 units to now bring its lifetime sales to just over 22 million units, while the Xbox Series X and S sold around 164,000 units to bring their lifetime sales to a guesstimate 16.24 million units. Typically, these units are usually pretty close to as well. Now, a big thing to note, though, is don't forget, even though the Switch may have sold more, in terms of the PlayStation having both a $400 and $500 plus $550 with the bundle units, it does overall make more money, even if the numbers are slightly smaller. Plus, also, it's higher tech, harder to produce, etc., in case you guys are curious on the comparisons. So PlayStation 5 sales compared to the same week for the PS4, funny enough, I'm doing a big callback, in 2015 are actually up by nearly 54,000 units, while the Xbox Series X and S compared to the same week for the Xbox One are up by over 83,000 units too as well. PS4 sold 176,000 units for this week ending August 8th, 2015, and Xbox One sales are at 80,000. So, at least we're actually all around seeing that these, compared to the prior generations, they're kind of getting smoked. They're doing a very good job of selling over 6 figures of new units. Both of these are insanely high. Now, as well, we have, I think, seen, at least in my opinion, for PlayStation, seen a huge influx of new stock. And I think that does kind of go and showcase a lot that we had 230,000 new consoles kind of slowly making their way into all these units and markets. Like, I do think that's a very nice sign. And it does kind of seem like some of the situation seems like it's waning, at least a little bit. So as you guys can kind of go and see the comparison to, the PlayStation 4 sold an estimated 5,000 units, and the Xbox One sold an estimated 420 units. Nice. So basically, we are still seeing these like old previous gens still somewhat being sold and somewhat moving around, but at the end of the day, it's not really that big. Now, Nintendo Switch sales compared to the same week a year ago are up by 925 units, so barely anything, 0.3%, while the PlayStation 5 is up 14,781, or 6.9%. Nice. And the Xbox Series X and S is up 36,000 units, or 28%. So just at least in terms of like console generation to generation, it does seem like the Xbox is actually pulling through pretty well, with a pretty big sizable update. While the PlayStation still has a pretty, I'd say 7% is pretty up there. And while the Switch, don't forget, it is also multiple years old, though, in comparison, they're doing pretty good. Now, the PlayStation 4 is down 22,000 units, pretty much 83%, and same with the Xbox 2 being down 96%, but at the end of the day, we're on next gen. Do we really have to worry that much about prior gen? No, not really. So looking at sales week on week, the Nintendo Switch sales are flat. PlayStation sales are actually down by 26,000 units, but this is also, don't forget, more so in regards like around 2 weeks ago or so, because the numbers are slacking, and around that time it was quite a few places where we just didn't see any restocks. Now, ever since I would say from August 6th onwards to now, it'll probably have a bigger increase because just we've seen so much more stuff. You've seen the Amazon drops, PS Direct drops, GameStop walk-ins, like everything else, Best Buy, Target links. Still keep checking those down below. We've been seeing some good stuff. So 2022 year to date, the Nintendo Switch has sold an estimated 9.63 million units as of this year so far. The PlayStation 5 has sold 5.08 million units so far, and the Xbox Series X and S has actually sold a very, very solid 4.6 million units. Now, as you guys can still clearly go and say, the Switch is doing phenomenal. Just in comparison, it's pretty much the same amount of these two combined, which is still insane. Granted, though, don't forget it is easier to produce, and as well as obviously, like, them, at the end of the day. But on top of that, too, as well, like, it does seem the Xbox is getting closer, and is also pushing closer to the PlayStation 5, which number-wise, it is insane. So these are the global hardware estimates as of right now, with the Switch at around 111 million. As of this second, PlayStation 5 at around 22 million, Xbox Series X and S around 16 million, also don't forget, give or take, PlayStation 4 around 116 million, around 117, where you guys can see the Switch is still only a few weeks away, and I still think once the Switch kind of takes that #1 record, by at least a somewhat substantial margin, I think that'll be, like I said, a big marketing play, big piece that they get to keep on forever. Like if they push 120 and they make a new Switch Pro, it makes sense. And the Xbox One was only at 50 million-ish, give or take, as we also saw from a lot of those Brazilian articles that came out. In the America, we saw around 100,000 Switches, getting close to 100,000 PlayStations, 85,000, so very close to as well for Xbox Series X and S's. While the European had a really big PlayStation 5 Switch, we'll basically put the 76,000 for #1, Switch right behind them, and the Xbox Series X not as close as the Americas in general. In the Asian markets, obviously the Switch has still been doing fantastic as a huge #1, while the Xbox Series X and S has been very, honestly, kind of bad, all around kind of rough. Just at 21,000, while the PlayStation 5 is getting close to 50,000, but obviously the Switch is just like churning out consoles in literally every area, region, demographic, place, whatever it is, like they're going to be buying one. And we also did have the Oceania, which is like Australia, New Zealand, etc., with the Switch at only 11,000, PlayStation 5 at pretty much the same, Xbox Series X and S around half from there, and obviously the huge 7 Xbox Ones. So these are all kind of usually rough on very, very consistent analytics, which they also line up really well with PlayStation themselves. So it's kind of intriguing to see on how well the PlayStation still has been doing, because once again, this is a #1 based on these sales, but as well, just on how big that the Xbox is just kind of flopping, although not overall, it's not as bad, but some of these regions have been doing kind of rough. And as well, the fact that the Switch is pretty much about to go become the #1 console worldwide, only a few more weeks away. So kind of give me your thoughts and comments down below. And as well, make sure you guys definitely go and check in the HOW link down below for your reservation and your pre-order sign up for this one. We only have a few days left. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. And keep on checking out the Target and Amazon links down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching in the first place.